Here we go. Stella, thank you for
What's
joining
up?
us today. um,
This is my new
I
office.
like it. I like it. You're doing a great job with it. So, hey, I appreciate you taking out the time. The goal of this, as we talked about last week, was to kind of share some information, some good news about what's been going on with everybody as we kind of tackle this new norm over the next couple of weeks and months. Who knows? So wanted to kind of share two things that you and I have talked about. One was last week, when we talked about kind of how we're reaching out to our database and what that looks like. And then obviously some good news you had over the weekend with the listing and everything. But let's start with last week. Tell me a little bit about how your week went. I know you were pretty involved in these calls in the morning, and we're reaching out to your database. Tell me how that went, what your experience was, and then share some of the feedback that you got from it.
So one of the things that I think has been really helpful is sitting down with Adrian, our
Okay.
productivity coach, who has given me some ideas of what I should be doing right now in order to keep my trajectory going in the right direction. And I guess one of the things KW always says is being top of mind. So last week I had just a couple of people that reached out to me that were asking me. I mean, a lot of times I get emails or questions like who's a good electrician and that kind of stuff. I mean, a lot of us realtors get that kind of stuff. But I had people that reached out to me wanting to know if I knew good landscapers or who did I know that was good at. There was another one that wanted a good home security system. So things that are a little bit outside of the norm of what people typically are asking the realtor for. And I felt like that was a little bit of a win because it meant that anything that has to do with my house, I should call Stella.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that was a good thing. So in capitalizing on that and capitalizing on what Adrian says about your trajectory is I'm kind of reaching out to people to see sort of what they need right now. And if they have any questions about just helping them make decisions and know who they can reach out to about things.
Yeah.
That's sort of what I'm doing to stay top of mind right now.
Okay. So what do you think built up to that? How over the last couple of weeks, what were your conversations like with people? Why do you think it was you that they thought of for those to reach out to you for those industries or for those particular vendors?
I'm trying really hard right now on my social media to highlight different vendors, to highlight different stores that are fun. Every time we go to a restaurant, I post about the food I like to eat. So, but I really have tried really hard to focus on these are great places to entertain with your kids. These are great places to go shopping, and this is a great antique store, and just to kind of share what it's like to live in this community. And that's what my social media has sort of been driving towards. I could be better and I could be more purposeful, but it made me feel like people were paying attention to that. And I've also put on my personal social media if you have a business that you'd like to have highlighted or you do something you'd like the community to know about, then let me know and I'll try to make sure I highlight it. So I'm working with the people that I know, and I feel like that's helping me kind of stay top of mind for them. And one thing during all of this coronavirus fund, I've reached out to a couple of different vendors to see what are they doing differently right now, and how are they restructuring their business model. And hopefully, if I can sit down and do one of these kind of interviews with them and ask them just 5 questions: what do you do? How are you doing it differently? How can we help support your business to keep it afloat? Things like that. That's my goal in the next week, to sort of work with people. Anyway, all of that to stay top of mind with either vendors or with people that are paying attention. I think people like videos.
Yeah, that's awesome. So in all of these conversations that you're having with them, how much are you bringing up real estate, or are you just having conversations with them?
I'm really not talking about real estate. I'm really just being the person that they know to call about things. And I mean, it comes up organically, but I
Right.
don't call for the purpose. And you know this about me. I have to feel like I'm coming from a place of help when I'm reaching out to people, and I really probably should change my mindset because everybody is needing help that we don't necessarily know they need it.
Right.
But it has to feel like it's a genuine interaction for me. And so this way I feel like it's genuine. I'm helping people. And then when they're reaching out to me, we talk about it. And then inevitably it becomes like, what are you seeing in the market?
Right.
Stuff like that.
Okay. Well, that's awesome, and I think I'll be curious to see kind of how that continues over the next couple of weeks and everything. So talk about this weekend. Talk about the good news that you had today, and then let's back up a couple days and talk about your scripts over the last week. So what happened
So
today?
I today I ratified a contract.
Awesome.
And the good news was it was one of 6 offers that we had that came in one day after we went live at like midnight on Friday and had 2 showings on Saturday, 4 showings on, no, 6 showings on Sunday, and 6 offers that came in. All of them were over asking. And yeah, I mean, didn't hurt that the property showed really well, but
Right.
I think it was priced exactly right, and I think people are still buying, so that's good.
That's awesome. So let's work backwards for the questions that I know that we'll have people will have. Talk to me about how the showings went. How were those differently? How were those handled differently this weekend than they normally are in the past?
I made sure that we had wipes
Mm-hmm.
outside the door, and I made sure that we had hand sanitizer outside the door. And I put in the agent notes that I would prefer it if only one person touched the knobs and opened the doors and pulled out the drawers, and to keep the touching to a minimum. And the only thing is, one guy showed up in gloves and then took them off and threw them on the ground outside. So it was like, thanks for the gloves, man. But but anyway, it's I think people were really respectful of it and understood. I think I got a lot of comments that said thanks for the wipes, and I told them to make sure they used the hand sanitizer before they touched the lockbox buttons and everything. So,
Okay. Awesome.
but yeah, I think people were still showing and they were just being more careful.
Okay. So talk about your conversation with the seller last week. Obviously, last week was kind of the first week that we were starting to experience this, really more so this week. But what were their hesitations? How did you overcome that? And how'd you find the seller too? That's a good story.
So I'll start with how I found the seller. My very, very first listing that I ever had, it went under contract in the same development in one day. So I mean, talk about like setting everything else is a letdown after that, right? Nothing else.
Right.
I'm so great at this on my first one. Anyway, so I sent out 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I farmed the neighborhood and said under contract in one day, over asking, and nothing came of it. And I just thought, oh well. And then I got a call about 2 months ago from someone, and I'd never even heard of her before. And as we were sitting down going through the contract, I said, "Do you mind if I ask how you knew who I was?" And she pulls out my postcard that was 2 years, 3 years old. I held on to it all this time. I'm not even with the same brokerage anymore, and she still managed to get in touch with me.
That's awesome.
So anyway, I was like, oh, farming does work. That is good. So I will continue to farm that neighborhood. Um, so there's that. But she at the time was just researching. It's a second home. She lives here, but it's really her second home. And they were trying to decide if they were ready to move back to their original home. So she just wanted to get an idea of how much things were selling for and what she'd make. So I sat down with her and went through the awesome APC and kind of showed her a little bit of where her home stood right now. And then as this stuff started to unfold with the coronavirus, she wasn't sure if she was ready to sell. And I basically said, I'm not telling you what to do, but our ability to, work with the different courthouses and things like that may become like hindered. So it might be a good thing to consider whether or not you're ready to do this. So she did reach out to me and say she wanted to sell it. And we, in fact, we're going to put it on the market this week, but decided to hurry up and do it last week just in case. So I'm glad we did. So, long explanation.
Awesome. No, that's great. So basically, she, from her standpoint, ended up moving up her timeline because of what's going on, and we're starting to see a lot of sellers for that. So that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What else should everyone know? What else would you want to let everyone know? I appreciate you sharing. We want to get these short videos out of success stories that people are having over this time. What are some parting words of wisdom or anything you wanted to add to anyone that's watching this saying, ooh, I'm liking this good news. I'm a little stressed out with everything going on. So this is great news. What else would you say to them?
So I'm stressed out too. And I've got 3 kids and their homework and all of that. But I will say I sat down, I'm giving myself grace and I'm sort of dialing back my aggressiveness as far as what I was planning to do. And sort of, and I come from a government contracting background where we talk about agile shifting. And so I'm just trying to be agile in my delivery and pivot, I guess is what y'all are saying now. So, but refocus. So I'm spending this time really trying to engage with my database. I talked again with Adrienne, productivity coach, and talked to her about how to bring value during this time. And maybe that's what we all should be focusing on, because even if we're not selling right now, if we can cement ourselves as being the person that you call to ask who the landscaper should be, then you're the person that they'll remember to call when you're asking about, when do you want to buy or sell. And I just think it's important to kind of reach out to people and say, how can I help your business right now?
Right.
I think that seems to be what people are. Everybody has a business, whether or not they're a teacher or a crawl space guy. So anything we can do to kind of humanize ourselves with people, I think will help make you be the one. My dogs are climbing on me right now.
Well,
Make you be the one that they think of. So I don't know if that's the answer, but that's where I'm going to focus my
no,
energy.
that's your answer, and that's what I was looking for. So that's great. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and we're rooting for you and here for you if you need anything, and just appreciate all that you're doing to contribute. And we'll hopefully see you on the calls and keep up the good work and keep us posted with all the other good news that you have.
Well, and thank you. This leadership team is about as amazing as it gets. So I'm so
There.
appreciative for being part of it. So
Well, that's
thank you.
awesome. Absolutely.